Hello everybody and welcome into the Grindstone Development's late model stock tour, making their final stop here of the season for the championship race at none other than the famous Five Flags Speedway, and we have got another good one in store for you here tonight. As always, thank you all so much for tuning in. You are watching Austin Green on PGR eSports. Well, qualifying is complete, and coming into the race tonight, we already know who is going to be crowned the official Grindstone Development's late model stock tour champion, and we'll get into all that in just a moment. But before we do, let's get right down trackside and get into tonight's starting grid. The man who will sit on the pole here for the final race of the season is the man who has already found himself 3 wins this season. The 55 of James Harris puts down that pole lap of a 16.8. Randy Sample going to roll off to the outside in second here tonight after winning his first race of the season last week at Bristol. It'll be Kevin Kirchar in the number 91 starting back in third, with Grant Enfinger making a start in the field here tonight. He will roll off fourth. Jason Machad back in the 5th position here tonight with Tyler Meeks in 6th. William Mann Jr. in 7th with Bryce Rayner in 8th. There'll be Brian Hyde back in 9th and Jason Nethery rounding out the top 10. Kevin Ward going to be the last man to start in the field here tonight. He will roll off from that 11th position. Taking a look at your race info here tonight. Again, we are at the famous Five Flags Speedway, home to the Snowball Derby, just under a half a mile in length. You notice banking in the corner, not quite as aggressive as what we saw last week at Bristol, but this track is certainly on the wider side. Track temp here tonight, going to be in the mid-70s, sim temp in the low 70s. And again, as far as what these cars are going to have to work with here tonight, 2 sets of Goodyears in the pits if you need them. 125 laps, that's the distance that will run here tonight. 2 green-white checkers if we were to need them. And as always, you do have that one fast spare in your back pocket just in case you get yourself into trouble. A lot of storylines here tonight, but of course the top one is the man who, of course, is now officially going to be crowned the GDTS Late Model Stock Tour Champion. And that is none other than the 34 of Jason Nethery. Comes into this race with a 22-point gap over second place Brad Thacker in the point standings. And with only 11 cars starting the race here tonight, that will again make him your official champion. James Harris looking to see if he can get himself one more win here to wrap up the season. The driver out of Texarkana, Texas certainly has himself in a good starting position to do just that. All right, lights are off on the pace car. We're going to die the music out and get ready to bring the engines to life one more time this season. Here we go. Green flag in the air. We're racing at Five Flags Speedway. Good start out of the gate. Everybody clean through turn 1 and 2. Harris will lead everybody back down to the bottom in turn 3. Boy, Kevin Kirchar getting really aggressive. You see these cars sliding up off the banking as they came down the front stretch right there. And Jason Machad looked like he got a little bit loose there on entry of 1, but they stayed 2 by 2. Grant Enfinger is going to be able to settle himself just a spot behind the 46 of Jason Machad. The 7 of Meeks in here as well, trying to make something happen. And I'll tell you what, looking at the 87 of Bryce Rayner right now, and he's got himself a fantastic run going. I think for a couple of these drivers sitting towards the back, and when I say he's got a fantastic run going, I mean off that start. I was going to say, we had a couple of drivers that we've seen really good this season that qualified towards the back, but Rayner was able to quickly pick off the position. Now he's going to be chasing down the 46 of Machad. Up front, though, Harris currently leads. He's got himself about a 0.2 of a second gap over the second place running Kevin Kirchar. And for the 91, boy, after a season of so many chances and none of them seeming to work out, what an opportunity it would be here tonight if he can get this car dialed in for the long run. Seems like he's got the speed right now in the short run. Already 5 laps in the books. See the 47 of Sample hanging on to that final podium position. But just 1 spot behind him here, Grant Enfinger looking to see if he can make something happen. And we saw Grant last season in the trucks at one of the short tracks we went to. And he obviously had fantastic speed there, just as he does in, of course, the real-life truck series. And for Enfinger right now, he started in that 4th spot. Currently sits in the same position as it runs. Go a couple more positions back here. The 46 of Machad down a position from where he started. Nethery is now up 2. We talked about him already being crowned the champion, so some of the other notable battles, if you will, for the points coming down to the end of the season here tonight. You look at that 2nd spot, Brad Thacker currently leads over James Harris by 6 positions. And so for Thacker, who is obviously hoping to hold on to that, he did not make it to the race here tonight. So James Harris will be able to take away that 2nd position, assuming Harris, of course, comes home with a pretty good run. Bryce Rayner still really close to trying to sneak out a position from James Harris. He sits 2 points behind that 55, so keep an eye on those two. And then for Jason Machad, he's still in the mix here, sitting in that 5th position. And by the way, talking about pit strategy here tonight, similar to what we had the last couple of weeks, fuel not going to be a concern. Everybody can make it the distance in that sense, but it's going to be, do you feel like you need tires? And if so, when do you feel like you need to go into take them? Grant Enfinger now starting to come to life here. The 9 car has found a little bit more pace. He got that 3rd spot from Sample a couple laps ago. Now he's working to the inside here. Kevin Kirchar. Now watch out. Oh, man, almost some contact right there. Kirchar is really fighting for this outside. He knows that he's got the momentum down the straightaway if he can just hold the 9 even through the corner. But man, every lap that you go side by side, it seems like that outside maybe becomes a little bit less valuable. And you know that both of these guys really wearing out their tires here, trying to get that spot. Fenfinger, though, can just sneak clear. Would be his best opportunity here. Still 2 by 2, though, down into turn number 1. Sample side by side, now a spot back. Him and Meeks are going at it. And I'll tell you what, it's almost, I mean, it's great for us here tonight, especially for the viewing purposes, but a little bit sad that we couldn't have came to this track maybe earlier in the season. Some of the best racing we've seen so far here tonight, and it's not just for the couple of top spots. And these guys are battling all the way back to the 5th position here. Enfinger and Kirchar have been side by side for a handful of laps, as has Meeks and Sample. Meeks finally just going to slide clear the 47. Thought maybe Sample would try to get the crossover going. Not going to happen. And just a spot ahead, you saw Grant Enfinger there getting a little physical. He got clear of the 91, who now finds himself up in the fence. Oh, trouble. The 91's going to go around. Rayner ran into the back of him. Caution is out. Oh, that's a big hit for the 34 Nethery as one goes up and over. Back on all fours, the 13 of Brian High. Chaos here on lap 16. There's a lot of hard battling there for a handful of laps, and just as it looked like they were getting ready to finally get it all sorted out, that's when the trouble struck. So certainly something that we will have to keep an eye on here in terms of how this is going to affect the running order for a couple of these guys that had really good speed early. Most notably Kevin Kirchar, who found himself running near the front. Let's go back and look at this here first and get a breakdown of this incident. It all started with the battle between Grant Enfinger and Kevin Kirchar. They'd been side by side for a while, but it almost looked like Grant may have finally got the best of him here. And we'll go here first to the chopper view. So you see Enfinger here. He's on the inside. He's got a good run. He's finally going to use that momentum, and he'll slide clear of the 91. Kirchar's going to try to cross him over. I think Grant sees that, and he quickly gets back down to the inside. Kirchar gets him a little out of shape as they go on entry to the corner, and then it looks like, I think the 91 just kind of gets a little bit upset. Not emotionally, I'm talking about the car. From when he makes that initial contact with the 9, it looks like he just got the car a little bit upset for Kevin Kirchar, and as he goes to get on the right rear quarter panel of Enfinger going into the corner, just a little bit of contact. And again, it was nothing there that Kirchar was doing out of spite or because he was upset. It was just more so, I think he was trying to cross him over and got caught a little bit off guard. And then that contact just kind of got him at a bad spot. And then once Kirchar got back up into that outside wall, here comes the onrushing Bryce Rayner, nowhere to really go. And then the 34 Nethery, kind of same boat. Pretty heavy contact for him. And Brian High tries to split the gap, then gets turned. And see that car briefly get lifted on its side. Doesn't quite go all the way over before he's able to land back on all four. Let's get another view of this here, kind of from the TV angle at how this all played out. And actually, before we do that, let's go to the onboard view here for Kevin Kirchar. And I want to show you what I'm talking about here when I said it looked like this car got a little bit upset when he made contact. So watch it here. Grant gets clear, jumps up, and then Kirchar tries to cross him over. Grant covers, and then and maybe not. Just a bit of a misjudgment. It's hard to tell, too, if when he made that contact to the 9 of Enfinger, if that got him a little out of shape. But one more look at it. That's where it started, and then the rest is history. Go back live now as green flag back in the air. 20 of 125 laps in the books. James Harris continues to lead the way. Grant Enfinger second. Tyler Meeks third. Jason Machad fourth. William Mann Jr. fifth. Kevin Ward back in 6th. So Bryce Rayner currently holding that 7th spot. Kevin Kirchar 8th. Brian High 9th. Jason Nethery currently rounding out the top 10, and they've got about a 4-way battle back there. But up front, Enfinger trying to chase down your race leader. James Harris has led them all so far. 21, now 22 in the books. And for Meeks, good positioning for him still. Bryce Rayner's going to have some work to do after getting involved in that last incident. 91 Kirchhoff, looks like he did not get all the damage on that car fixed. So he's going to save that fast spare for a little bit later in this race. For the 55 of Harris right here. Currently leads the way, but as he dives back down to the inside, you notice the 9 here of Enfinger. Almost looks like he's taking a little bit more of a shallow entry on the 55. And for Harris here, maybe trying to be a little bit more conservative on the tire, try to take that defensive line so that he can get the more momentum on exit of the corner. Man, I'll tell you what, too, this is kind of that point in the race where you feel like track position obviously so crucial. By the way, shout out to the paint scheme here tonight for the 55 of Harris, rocking the Christmas colors. And of course, as always, still keeping the sponsorship on board for the Grindstone development side of things. And speaking of Grindstone, I like to make sure we make mention of it every season, but Kevin Kirchhoff and Grindstone Developments, all that they've done for this league over the course of the last several seasons and couple of years to keep these guys running competitively, and of course be able to provide broadcasting for these guys weekly regardless of field size. I'd say on behalf of PGR eSports and on behalf of the league, we appreciate everything they do and all the sponsors that help make things possible for these guys week in and week out. And of course, next season, going to be taking a break. Ownership going to be handed over to none other than the 7 of Tyler Meeks, who we talk about on track here tonight, currently sitting in that 3rd position. So we'll be off for a couple weeks break. More to come on that, but it seems like these guys may make a return to the Truck Series. And if you're, of course, interested in joining, you can always check out the Discord. We do have the description, or rather the link to the Discord in the description of the video. Enfinger and Meeks now going at it. The 87 Rayner still trying to make up some positions. He's now back inside the top 5 here as we'll be crossing 30 laps to go. 30 laps complete, rather, when we cross the line this next time. Ryan high after that contact in the first incident. Currently finds himself in the 9th position. Jason Ethery has fallen back to 10th. Kevin Kirchhoff currently sitting in that 11th spot. And so for Enfinger here, who currently sits 2nd, this is kind of the interesting battle because him and Meeks really started to close the gap on each other. It seemed like Tyler was going to have something for him, but now all of a sudden the 9 is starting to find some pace again as he'll try to go and track back down your leader. James Harris did get that gap up to over half a second. It's now closed back down in under 0.4 of a second. Notice on the track map, field separated by maybe about half a track at the moment. So no lap traffic to worry about just yet, but that could certainly be something we start to talk about as this race goes on. And you notice here, track temp currently now in the low 80s after starting out in the upper 70s. Not making a big difference though here. Certainly still a lot of grip at this track. And you notice the speeds here, again, not quite as fast as what we ran last week at Bristol, but Five Flags with all the banking in the corners is certainly another one of the faster tracks we go to on the season. And the other thing that I've noticed here so far tonight is there hasn't been a lot of handling issues. Seems like these guys have been handling these race cars pretty good. It's of course good news, especially when you look at what a couple guys were dealing with in the long run last week at Bristol. Felt like the cars were handling pretty good there in the short run. But then all of a sudden everybody was swinging to the free side as we got later in that race. We do have a few onboard cams here tonight. We're going to start first with your race leader, none other than 55, James Harris. Talked about him still well in contention to potentially grab that runner-up finish in the championship standings. Could potentially grab his 4th win of the season here tonight. So he has certainly still got a lot to battle for, even though he will not be crowned a champion this season. Then you go back to that 5th position where we find the 87 of Bryce Rayner. He's picked up 3 from where he started this race at. Still got a long ways to go here tonight, but a good run going early for the 87 after some trouble. Under that first caution, he was able to recover. The driver out of Scranton, Pennsylvania, is now looking to see if he can get himself back towards the front of the field. So James Harris continues to lead. Grant Enfinger, though, keeping him well within striking distance. And as you go further towards the back, shout out to Kevin Ward, who's making a return here tonight. We've seen Kevin in previous seasons, but didn't get to see him much this season. You can see him out here making start the final race of the season here tonight. Randy Sample has fallen back to 7th after a great qualifying effort that he had here tonight. 47 was coming off a lot of momentum with that win last week at Bristol, and it was another crazy finish. And you got to keep that in mind here tonight. This thing's not over at any point. The last couple of weeks, we have had a late caution that has stirred up about as much drama late race as you could possibly ask for. James Harris kind of got one stolen away a couple weeks ago. Last week, it was Bryce Rayner who got one stolen away at the end. So we'll have to see how it all pans out this week. But Harris still feels the 9 breathing down his neck, just 0.2 of a second. About a car length to 2 car lengths at most separating these two. And it'll be 42 of 125 laps complete here when they cross the line next time. And it's interesting, too, here as we start to kind of focus in a little bit more on the two lines that your two leaders are running. You notice James Harris, again, taking that little bit more conservative entry through the corner. He actually dips those left side tires down on the apron, but watch out, Enfinger's got a run here. Looking to the outside, nothing doing. Will the 9 be able to cross him over? Enfinger's going to try it. Is there enough momentum to do so? Not yet. Man, that really got the 9 a little bit of a loss from all that momentum he had been working with, catching up to the 55. Now he's got to regroup. The gap back to about 0.3 of a second. Boy, Tyler Meeks certainly keeping an eye on this battle and saying, boy, if one of you guys mess up, I might be able to get there myself. Meeks currently sitting about 1.5 seconds back from the two race leaders. And it's so interesting at Five Flags because, again, it's almost... You notice how on the apron here, and again, there's no out of bounds here. Oh, Meeks into the wall. We're going to hold that thought for now. As that was a pretty decent shot to the right front. It looks like that may have caused a little bit of damage there for Tyler Meeks. He'll continue on, but that's going to cost him a little bit more time as he falls to almost 2 seconds back now. And race leader James Harris. And so the gap, as it stands now, still hanging between about that 1/4 to 1/2 second back range for Grant Enfinger. We go back towards the back of the field here. Looks like Brian High and William Mann Jr. maybe getting ready to go at it. William Mann Jr., one of the drivers who, at a couple points this season, certainly looked like he could potentially be a contender. Wasn't able to make all the races, though, but still did have a couple of really good runs this season to show for it. So he's looking to see if he can have one more good one here tonight. As it stands, William Mann Jr. is struggling a little bit, though, at the moment. He's fallen 2 spots from where he started this race at. Still hanging inside the top 10, though. And with that early caution, we didn't talk much about this, but it makes me wonder, how is that going to affect the chance of a green flag pit stop tonight? We talked about that everybody can make it on fuel, even at 125 laps, so obviously no concern there. But this would be about somewhere around 100 lap, maybe a little bit more run on one set of tires. So it's all about, do you feel like you can go that long, or do you feel like maybe you need to make a pit stop at some point and grab at least 2 fresh tires? Part of me wants to say, I think that most of these guys might try to stretch it, even on the tire wear. I don't think the handling would really start to go away if it's going to, until we probably get, I'd say, closer to that lap 75 mark. That would be when probably the decisions would start to be made on if you think you can make it to the end, or if you're going to need some sort of new tires, whether that be 2 or 4 to make it to the end. So Grant Enfinger is still currently sitting in that second position. Bryce Rayner back in third, and so that's another spot gained here for the 87. That's maybe the next wild card in the running order here tonight is the 87. It's got a long ways to go, just under 3 seconds before he'll see the back bumper of James Harris. Grant Enfinger still in the way there as well. So he'll have 2 guys to track down, but he's still got a lot of laps to do it. Not even halfway yet here tonight. Looking at the lap times here between some of your top 3 for comparison, you notice James Harris last couple of laps, 17.3s. Grant Enfinger, 17.4s. So it looks like that last lap, Enfinger was just 1,000th of a second quicker, but overall Harris continues to be the fastest of the top 2. Bryce Rayner clicking in at 17.3s. That last lap is 17.2. So Rayner maybe finding a little pace here. About 1/10 of a second quicker. Let's see if he can keep that pace up here. Still, again, a long ways to go to track down the 55 of Harris. Well, we talked a lot about points so far this season, but you got to also look at some of the guys who took home the most trophies. The hardware, if you will, and of course the 2 guys tied for the most wins on the season is none other than race leader James Harris and then the 87 of Bryce Rayner, who currently sits in third. So one of them an opportunity here tonight to potentially steal one more win and crown themselves as the driver with the most wins on the season. Brad Thacker grabbing himself a win this season. And then you go back to some of the drivers outside the top 10 in points. Randy Sample found victory lane last week. And then Tyler Barnett, who we saw a couple times this season, won 2 races, and we haven't seen him since. It's basically kind of the final storylines that there is to really talk about here tonight. The only driver that we've had retire from this race so far tonight is Kevin Kirchar. I take that back. Thought for a moment he retired, but it looks like he was just on an off-schedule pit sequence here. So it doesn't look like it was a planned stop for the 91, but he did get that car fixed up. And it partially makes you wonder if that was part of the mindset there. It just felt like too damaged to continue on, so he goes in and gets that car fixed up. The downside, though, of course, is he loses 3 laps in the process, so it's looking like a competitive shot tonight for Kevin Kirchar might be over, and shame it is, because, again, he had a phenomenal qualifying effort tonight. Looked like maybe it was going to be his chance for his first podium of the season. Jason Nethery, you notice that car certainly looking worse for wear on the front end, still heavy damage, as he currently finds himself in that 10th spot, almost 17 seconds back. And so he'll be in danger of losing a lap. But for Nethery, again, tonight doesn't matter in terms of the point standings, as he has already gotten himself enough points to be crowned the official champion. And now we got a battle for second. Bryce Rayner making easy work with the number 9 at Grant Enfinger. He'll quickly pull clear off of turn 4. That slides Enfinger back to 3rd. Bryce Rayner's going to move up a spot now in 2nd. And he has cut that deficit now to under 2 seconds as he'll continue to try to chase down the 55 of James Harris. And going back and looking here under that first caution, this is what's a little interesting. Bryce Rayner did decide to pit. James Harris did not. And so that was the bold strategy call. And obviously you assume here for Bryce Rayner, the thought process is he's got to be hoping here that he'll be able to, or that we don't get another caution, if you will. And that fresher tire strategy would work out. James Harris, if we get a late caution, really a caution at any point, goes in, takes tires, and would have something better to work with than what the 87 Rayner has got here at the moment. So we are now officially over the halfway point here in tonight's race. 65, going to be 66 laps complete as we cross the line next time. And with that, we're going to take our first break tonight. We'll go side by side so you don't miss a thing. James Harris trying to win the final race of the season here at Five Flags Speedway.
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
But you feel like you're really driving, it feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Welcome back to the Grindstone Development's Late Model Stock Tour live back here at Five Flags Speedway. There's your race leader, James Harris, but the significant part as we come back from break is that caution is out. You saw it all while we were non-stop. Grant Enfinger got turned by the 91 of Kevin Kirchar. And oh boy, is that going to change some things around. Let's go back and get a replay here of exactly how this panned out. It looked like Kirchar, who again is on fresher tires obviously here, not fighting for the lead here, but just trying to figure out if there was a little bit of contact here. If that was the 91 getting a little revenge on the 9, or if that was just something else. Boy, he sure ran into the back of him pretty hard. I would almost think that that was Maybe a little bit intentional right here from the 91 of Kirchard. Let's go watch this here from the chopper view. Unless he just felt like he was there and didn't think Grant was going to dive down. That could have certainly been the case. Let's see here. So you see the 91. He goes down low early, but the 9's he's still there. And as they get down into the corner, yeah, the 91 of Kirchard just kind of runs him over. Again, I mean, I would say, based off what happened with these two earlier, that certainly looked like maybe a little bit of payback there. Unless Kirchard just misjudged how much faster he was going to be through the center of the corner on those fresher tires. Whatever the case may be, that was certainly some significant contact there. And watch this here from the onboard view. Kevin Kirchard, as he goes into the corner, bam. A big-time hit. And you hear him, he does try to lift. Once the contact's made, it's not like he just stays full gas, but certainly be interested to hear what race control had to say about that one. And intentional or not, I can tell you that Grant's probably not too happy about it. It's going to now send him towards the back of the field. All right, so lights are back off on the pace car, getting ready to go back to green flag racing here. 50 laps to go. And if you thought it was crazy already, this is the one thing I said that I didn't think James Harris, or rather Bryce Rayner, wanted to see. For James Harris, this is kind of a Christmas present, if you will. He's now got fresher tires, and he is going to be looking to try to hold off the rest of the way. And maybe not. We'll get to that in a moment. Green flag back in the air here. He's looking back in the field with the green flag back in the air. James Harris, yeah, he did pit, so he has fresher tires. I think Rayner, though, might have matched him. Either way, 50 laps to go when we cross the line next time. It was a good restart, though. And James Harris quickly away to the lead here. Single filing out back. Oh, watch out, 7 of Meeks. Boy, he got wicked loose there coming off of turn 4. Has to keep it on the inside, but he does manage to save it. Jason Machad in the 46 on the outside, running just behind Meeks. Grant Enfinger now going to look to the inside. He'll grab a position on the 46. The 9 now back up to 6th. That'll move him up another spot now. Inside the top 5 for Grant Enfinger, Brian High and Bryce Rayner. Both chasing after your leader. For Brian High, a chance to get his best finish of the season. For Bryce Rayner, this is the closest that he has been to James Harris all night. Man, it's going to be, looks like 45 laps to go here in just a couple laps time, and that means that we're really starting to wind down towards the end of this thing. You got to remember, these guys click off laps really quickly here. 45 sounds like a lot, but once you get into a rhythm, they go by really, really fast. And I think tonight, James Harris has by far been the fastest in the short run. So the question is, what does Bryce Rayner have for this 55? Is he saving something to try to pounce in the end? A little bit of contact there further back. Somebody got into the outside wall there coming off of turn 4. William Mann Jr. there still hanging around towards the back of the field. By the way, Randy Sample has fallen 6 positions where he started this race at. Kevin Ward back in 10th. Jason Nethery in 9th. And another opportunity here for Bryce Rayner. He's gotten really, really close, but he's not been able to make the move just yet. So we hop on board here with one of your former Grindstone Developments champions, Bryce Rayner. And watch the way they enter the corner. Again, it's a little bit different. You can see Harris is a little bit more patient with kind of trying to get down to the white line a little bit later. That time he missed it. But as they go through 3 and 4 here, does he try to do a little better? Yeah, he does. Notice how he enters a little bit higher, but it allows him to kind of arc it down and wrap that line as they get to the exit of the corner. It seems to really be helping the momentum here down the straightaways for James Harris. Rayner, though, with the shallower entry, trying to close it up through the center of the corner. Then he loses a little bit of that momentum on exit. Here comes Brian High and Tyler Meeks. Head out the 13, one of the Ford Mustangs in the field here tonight. Brian High have a bit of a charge here. Something to try to get around. Now the 7 of Meeks, though, going to look to the inside. That's going to halt the plans for the 13 of High. Meeks trying to slide clear. He's going to get that spot off of turn 4. That now moves him back up to the 3rd position. So Meeks is up 3 positions from where he started this race at. Brian High is up 5. And Grant Enfinger, who was, of course, involved in that last incident, now finds himself back inside the top 5, looking to crawl up to that 4th spot as well. Big contact into the outside wall there. That was the 7 of Meeks, it looked like. As Enfinger's going to try to take a look to the inside right here. As he goes into turn number 3, nothing doing there. He'll have to stay patient for now. And so with that caution that we had, that was the second caution of the night. Still, I don't think it completely takes out the realm of possibilities another caution by the end of this race, especially with how tight the top 5 are running, all within a second of each other before we see that first big gap in the field, and that is back to the 46 of Jason Machad, who's currently about 2 seconds back from your race leader. No major lap traffic expected anytime soon. So it's all a battle here between these top 5, and boy, Bryce Rayner continues to just run right in the tire tracks of James Harris. He has not been able to find a way around that 55 just yet. Tyler Meeks hanging very steady right now. He's not been able to pounce, but he's not lost anything either. And you wonder if any of these guys took anything from probably that second run, I'd say, more than anything, because that was our longest run so far. And that being, does saving tire get you anywhere? Does it help the handling? Does it help the grip longer in the run? Or is it tonight one of those things where you just got to fight for the lead and keep that clean air? James Harris so far has led every single lap tonight, so clearly it's been working out for him. But you got to think that right now he is probably doing a lot of mirror driving. That's basically what it looks like right now out of the rearview mirror for James Harris. Doing everything he can to fend off the 87. And for Rayner, at some point, do you maybe use the bumper just a little bit? I mean, you're so close. At what point do you try to get him just a little bit wiggly to try to get to the inside, make something happen? When they cross the line this time, it's going to be 93 of 125 laps complete. So we'll be closing in on that 30 lap marker here in just a couple more. And for the 7 of Meeks, I think he's kind of playing the patience game as well, waiting to see if the 87 is going to try to make a move and then see what he can do by that point. Brian High and Enfinger, though, still very impressed with those two hanging on, even after the 7 was able to get by the 13. For Randy Sample here, who currently finds himself back in that 8th position. Kind of on an island at the moment. Jason Nethery here tonight. Obviously rough going, but he's still going to go home feeling like a winner. And he claims that points championship after the race is officially over. Looks like he did get that damage repaired as well. And you notice now maybe a little bit of separation starting to form here as Meeks fades just a little bit. You notice the 13 of High and the 9 of Enfinger also have faded just a little bit more. That gap between the top 5 now a little bit broader than just a second. Bryce Rayner loses a little bit more that lap. Now he's back to about half a second. The gap between both him and James Harris. Show you the side-by-side view of these two, both of them carrying onboard cameras for us here tonight. Harris continues to lead as caution is back out once again. James Harris cannot believe it. He's like, what is going on, guys? This time it's the 7 of Meeks who goes around. Looks like that's down in turn 1 and 2. And he came to a halt on the inside guardrail. So that now makes it your 3rd caution here tonight. Less than 100 laps complete, and that's going to set us up for another crazy restart tonight. Let's go back and take a quick look at it here. As they're going into the corner here, the 7 of Meeks enters a little high. Brian High just gets this great big run into the corner and runs right into the left rear of Meeks. Sends him around, and then a little bit of contact there from William Mann Jr., who was trying to get checked up from further back. Watch this again from the blimp cam. Meeks definitely entered way higher than he wanted to. And it makes me wonder there if Meeks realized that and was trying to maybe get on the brakes just to get the car to turn down to cover the 13. Either way, certainly didn't look to me like any sort of big dive bomb from Brian High. Just looks like, again, kind of an interesting stack up there as the 7 of Meeks see him, he enters high, and then, yeah, he's really got that wheel cranked to the left. He's trying to get that car down, but by that point, the 13 of High is already there. And once that contact starts, just loops the 7 right around. So we'll go back live now and set ourselves up for another restart. Harris leads, Bryce Rayner 2nd, Brian High 3rd, Grant Enfinger 4th, and Jason Machad rounding out the top 5. So as we get ready to go back to Green Flag Racing here, we're going to take a quick break to go check on something with the race admin. We're not going to go to a full break, but we will be right back just in time for the restart. All right, and we are ready to get going here. 2x2 for potentially the final restart of the night. Green flag back in the air. 24 laps to go at Five Flags. Phenomenal restart that time for the 55 of Harris. You notice the 87 Arena, though, was quickly able to slot into that second spot. Boy, no more tire saving now. Whatever you've got, you got to use them. A lot of 2x2 action through the middle portions of the field here. Brian High, Grant Enfinger going at it. A little bit of contact between those two off of turn 4. And oh man, they're going to stay side by side. Something's going to have to give here. The 47 a Sample looking for a little bit of a late charge after what's been a rough night for him. Enfinger's going to take that spot. The 9 now back up to third. Randy Sample will get clear of the 46. That moves him now back up to the 5th position as they'll start to single file out now. Tyler Meeks looking to see if he can get back in the fight here after spinning out, bringing out that last caution. Going to be coming to just 21 laps to go here this time. And it's starting to look more and more like this may become a 2-car battle for the win. For Bryce Rayner here, he had a lot of opportunities through the short run of that last run, but he wasn't able to make use of any of them. James Harris was able to fend him off. Can he do it again, though, here? And I said they single filed out, but boy, they are still really tight, almost bumper to bumper here for that 3rd spot on back. Grant Enfinger currently leads over Brian High for that final podium position. 47 a Sample currently sitting back in that 5th spot. Jason Machad 6th. William Mann Jr. 7th. Tyler Meeks 8th. Jason Nethery in 9th. Kevin Ward rounding out the top 10. And so as they stay the way they run right now, we're going to be coming to 18 laps to go. And you see it here kind of from our TV3 cam where it's 1st and 2nd are basically bumper to bumper. Then you've got that big gap, almost a second, from Grant Enfinger to the back bumper of Bryce Rayner. And the longer that those guys... Oh, caution again. And for your leader, James Harris, he has got to be saying to himself, what is going on here? And this time, I believe it was 29 to William Mann Jr. who goes around. Looks like maybe a little bit of damage here to the right side of that race car. And so we will line him up for yet another restart here, with what's going to likely be less than 15 laps to go, close to 10 laps to go. So let's go back and look at it here and see how this one pans out. You notice here, for the 29 of William Mann Jr., this is coming off of turn number 4. Oh, it just gets a little bit loose, and as he tries to catch it, the 34 Nethery was already on his inside. So the 29 goes right across the nose. Watch it here again here from TV1. You're going to see, yeah, he's loose, trying to save it, but 34's down there, and he just runs out of racetrack to do so. Goes across his nose, and then nowhere to go here, as that's a pretty big tank slapper to the right side of that race car. It does come to a halt. Nobody else really gets involved. I know that 34 obviously made contact, but didn't look like any major damage for him. I think he's okay. I think this is more so going to be an issue here. Try to see if we could get a better view of this here from the pit lane cam. There's the contact in the background, and there's the big hit. Kevin Ward does a good job there, seeing it, making sure he gets high to avoid any extra contact. And so that now puts us under our 3rd caution here of the night. And as we go back live, we'll line them up, make that 4th caution rather. 15 laps to go, lights still on the pace car, but it is James Harris being scored as your race leader. Bryce Rayner 2nd, Grant Enfinger 3rd, Brian High 4th, and Randy Sample rounding out the top 5. Now I'll tell you what, as this stands here at the moment, so it's 14 laps to go, and as it stands, Bryce Rayner, this has got to be it. I mean, he's had, what, 2-3 chances now to restart on the front row here along James Harris, and he just hasn't been able to match him yet. We'll see if he's able to finally make it happen this time. This one could be the final restart here. It's going to be 13 laps to go if we stay green the whole way. Race isn't official, though, until we get the white flag, and boy, it has been a wild night so far. Harris is going to have to try to fend him off again. Green flag back in the air. 13 laps to go, and it's another great restart for the 55. This time it's Grant Enfinger who's actually able to match him. Coming off of turn 2, the 55 leads, but this time it's the 9 who slots into 2nd. For Grant Enfinger, it didn't seem like he had top 3 speed really over that last run. He was barely holding on to 3rd, but here this time, car certainly looks a lot faster out of the gate, at least on the restart. Bryce Rayner currently sitting in third. You see Sample in fourth. Brian Hyde's going to slot back into sixth, but Machad will dive low. He'll try to grab that spot from the 13 as we now come to just 11 laps to go. And man, further back, a little bit of 2x2 still between the 46 and the 13. If we're going to get a caution, I would think it'd be back here. Jason Nethery looking to see if he can make a bit of a late charge, pick up a couple spots here as he looks to the inside on Brian Hyde, going down into turn number 1. Not going to slide clear yet. He's going to have to work on him for a couple of laps. Meanwhile, back at the front, the gap between first and second currently at about 0.2 of a second. Yeah, it's the same question that we did earlier about Bryce Rayner for Grant Enfinger here, is if he's able to get within between a tenth and maybe 0.2, does he consider trying to use the front bumper coming down to the last couple of laps to see if he can get that 55 out of shape? As it stands right now, just don't know if he's going to have enough here, but boy, James Harris is certainly not going to get away easy here. Bryce Rayner in third, I think, is kind of content to stick with where he is. Obviously, he wants to get another spot or two, but he sees how much pressure Enfinger's putting on Harris right now and knows that if he gets up there and tries to make a move, it might cost them both a shot at going for the win. And so it's going to be 6 laps to go when they cross the line this time. James Harris just 6 laps away from making it a full race sweep in the final one of the season. If he can lead every single lap and bring home the race win here tonight, that would put a cap on what has already been a very winning season for that number 55. Still 0.2 of a second. Seems like Grant was a little bit better on entry to the corner, but he loses it as they go down the straightaway. You do notice that Grant adjusting that line a little bit, almost matching the 55 with trying to get kind of that wider entry and arc it back down by the time you get to corner exit. James Harris going to see 4 laps to go. Wants to see that white flag, though, make this race official. He doesn't want to have to worry about any more restarts here tonight. Randy Sample got himself back up to 4th. Watch for him to potentially try to fight for that final podium position with the 87 Rayner. And I think at this point, at least what it's looking like from the top 3, they've searched around a little bit, but I don't think anybody's finding much more. Does Grant Enfinger have anything left in the tank here to try to chase down the 55 of Harris? A little bit of blinking issues further back, and now Bryce Rayner going to finally have a shot to look to the inside here. Not quite able to make it work that time on the 9 of Enfinger, but that does cost them both a little bit of time on the 55 of Harris. The gap now up over 0.3 of a second as the 55 of Harris will see the white flag. 1 lap to go at Five Flags, and after a season of 3 wins, Harris was looking for one more, got one stolen away a couple weeks ago, but not again here tonight. He is going to make it a full race sweep, leads all the laps, and will come home a winner one more time. James Harris wins it at Five Flags. Enfinger's going to hold on for 2nd, and Rayner rounds out the podium. What a race. What a finish to the season. And while Harris will be celebrating the victory, it's the 34 of Jason Nethery, the man who's going to celebrate his championship here tonight. I believe that's his first championship in the Grindstone Developments Late Model Stock Tour, and I think he's going to bring it around and celebrate here with the 55. See if we get a little double burnout action here going. No, James Harris is going to park it. He's going to let the celebrations stick to the 34. So as Nethery continues to try to burn down the house here, let's take a look at your official results here tonight. It is James Harris being scored as your race winner tonight. Grant Enfinger finishes 2nd. Bryce Rayner 3rd with Randy Sample 4th. Jason Machad 5th. Tyler Meeks takes home 6th here tonight with Brian Hyde back in 7th. Could be Jason Nethery taking home 8th. Kevin Ward in 9th. Kevin Kirchar rounding out the top 10. And William Mann Jr. finishes in that final spot here in the field tonight. He takes home 11th. All right, we are going to go grab your top 3 plus your champion here tonight for interviews. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Five Flags Speedway. All right, and we are going to, of course, kick things off first here tonight with your race winner, and that is going to be none other than the 55 of Harris. That's who, actually, you know what? I take that back. We are going to go ahead and kick things off first here tonight with your season champion, and then we'll move on to your top three to follow that. So let's first bring in the man who is now officially a Grindstone Developments champion. That is none other than the 34 of Jason Nethery. Not the best finish here tonight, but nobody cares when you're the season champion. Jason, this is Austin in the booth. You got a copy.
What's going on, Austin?
Well, man, it's not the finish you're looking for tonight, but as I just said, hey, who cares? Because you are officially a Grindstone Developments champion. First off, how does it feel?
Man, it feels amazing. First series championship for me, and man, it's definitely not the way I would have won it. I'd like to have won it, but man, I'll take it however I can get it.
Absolutely. And, obviously, Jason, we always talk so much about consistency. And you look at your stats here when you come home a champion at the end of the season. No wins, but you come up with over a 20-point deficit, 20-point gain, I should say, over second place. How much was it this season about just being able to show up and try to make the best out of any sort of race you were in, even if it wasn't necessarily going your way?
No, that was 100% it. It was definitely a championship of just showing up and doing as best you can and trying to keep the car clean. That was really the plan going into tonight, is just hang around in the back and keep the car clean. Unfortunately, that did not happen, but hey, we're here. We want it. We'll take it.
Absolutely. And it's looking like next season, not sure if we're going to make a return to the late model stock cars, but if we go back to one of the other three national series, how do you feel about your chances to try and grab another championship in one of those?
Man, I'll tell you what, I'll have some stiff competition, that's for sure. I'm a lot more comfortable in these cars than the trucks, which I think we're going to next season. I'll tell you what, these guys we're racing against, they're tough. I'm definitely was not the fastest guy out here, but to get the championship from, it's unbelievable.
Absolutely. Well, Jason, you are a champion. So before we let you head out here tonight to go celebrate it, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
I just want to thank the family, my wife, my mom out there, #1 fan. Hi, Mom. Of course, you guys putting this on, and everyone involved. It's been a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And Jason, it has been fun to watch you this season. Congrats on the championship, and hopefully we will see you again at some point next season.
Thanks a lot.
All right, that is now going to bring us up to your race winner here tonight. That'll kick off the interviews for the top three, and that is none other than the 55 of James Harris. And this officially is going to mark it now as his fourth win of the season, so may not be a champion, but it is going to mark him now as the winningest driver of the season. James, this is Austin up at the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, Austin, I do.
Well, man, it looks like you're going to come runner-up in the championship standings this season, but you are going to take home the most hardware of any other driver, so you bring home one more win tonight. What was the difference, man? You led every single lap, and you held them all off on the restarts there towards the end.
Man, I'm not going to lie. I'm used to here lately dominating these races and somehow losing it at the end. So I was just waiting for something to happen near the end, either Bryce on my bumper, then at the end I had Grant, on my butt. But luckily we were fortunate enough there to be able to hold everybody off and get that win tonight. Feels good.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what, James, 4 wins this season. And obviously, as we go towards next season, ownership going to take a change in hand for now. But if we do see you back out here in the next season at some point, how do you feel about your chances going back to one of the national series?
Yeah, I believe they're going back to the trucks next season, and I'm going to take a break. But there will be probably 2 races next season. I'll pop in and make an appearance. There was a big change with the trucks in today's update with the aerodynamics of the truck, and just some brief testing I did. It's going to be quite different than they were the last season we raced them. So I'm kind of interested in how that's going to go. So, but we love the truck, so we'll be fine.
Absolutely. Well, it was a great way to cap off the season for you with one more win, James. So before we let you head out, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, I'm gonna say first of all, congrats to Jason on the championship. He's couldn't happen to a nicer guy. That dude's a lot of fun to be around. He's so chill and laid back and never gets upset. So I'm really proud of him for racing every week and racing hard. He's really good in these cars too. Kevin Kirschner, Blackstone Management, Champion Power Equipment. I'm gonna thank all the admins for hanging around with me the last 5 years. It's been a lot of fun. It's kind of like letting go of my baby a little bit because I've been doing this so long, but it's time for a little bit of a change. We're going to focus more on road to pro type stuff and stuff like that. So big thanks to Kevin if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be racing people like Tom Majeski, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Grant Enfinger. He's done a lot for us over the last 5 years. So big thanks to Kevin. And I can't forget my lovely and beautiful wife, Courtney, for supporting me during all this.
Of course, big thanks to you, James, as well. A champion, multiple-time winner, multi-time champion, I should say. And, of course, going to wrap it up for now. But nonetheless, congrats on the win tonight. And hopefully we will see you at some point next season.
Thanks, Austin.
All right, and we are going to move on now to what will be your final podium finisher here tonight. Grant Enfinger does not use Discord, so we will not get a chance to interview him, unfortunately. But phenomenal finish for that nine car. So we'll go ahead and start things now with your third-place finisher, the final man on the podium here tonight, and that is none other than the 87 of Bryce Rayner. Bryce, this is Austin up in the booth. Got a copy?
Nah, they're driving good.
Yeah, I got you, Austin.
Well, man, you cap it off with one more podium finish this season, but we had quite a few restarts there towards the end, and a couple of them, it looked like you had a chance to maybe steal the lead, not quite enough. What more did you think you needed?
Yeah, that first caution not to come out, because if you saw, I was gaining from 3 seconds back to all the way right to James's rear bumper. So I don't know what else more I could have done. I know, I feel like these races we get like one caution, so I knew it was coming. I was just hoping I was in front of James when it did. Overall, super clean and fun race, racing with Grant and James as well. Very hard to pass. So I was just buying my time. It was really tough out there. But yeah, the restarts are a killer, and couldn't really do much more than try to time it like Randy did last week. But overall, P3, we'll take it. There was ups and downs throughout the race.
Absolutely. Well, we look back now that the season is over. It looks like you're going to come home third in the championship standings. How did you feel about the season overall, and was there anything you wish you would have maybe done different or work on next season?
Yeah, probably nothing different in the season, but overall I was hesitant with this car. Wasn't sure how it was going to be, how it was going to react to the audience, to us as racers. More and more as I race it, it kind of became like a fun thing to do on a Tuesday night. I don't really race these, so honestly, it was pretty fun for the whole entire season. Low car count. Yeah, I don't really care. I mean, it was fun racing everybody every week. Just wish maybe I don't know, got in a couple more races than I did. Maybe we would have had a shot at the championship, but overall, I mean, last season we'll take P3. Yeah, just unfortunate circumstances there that we had a couple disconnects from the server before it launched. Wasn't able to get in there, but really, really fun season.
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, Bryce, to round out one more good finish for you here tonight for the final time this season, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, I just want to thank PGR, Austin. You guys put on a show each and every week on Tuesdays, and all of your other leagues that you guys broadcast. Really good quality of streaming there. So thanks to you, thanks to PGR. Shout out to James, all the admins, Kevin, Tyler, Grindstone Developments, everybody who puts on this late model stock season here that we had. Super, super fun, like I said. Now it's turning over to Tyler and Kevin and all those guys. And James is taking a little hiatus, but he'll still be around. But just want to give a shout out to him. Really fun racing throughout the seasons that we've had, trucks, late models, everything in between. Hopefully he sticks around and races a couple here and there. Fun to see him out on the track. Shout out to Digital Sim Sports, Martin PC, Team Conti Sim Performance, and all my teammates over there. And lastly, note to self: don't adjust the brake pedal before any races, and hop right in, because my brake pedal was not calibrated at all. So, note to self, and we'll go on to next season.
Absolutely. And you still made the best of it, Bryce. We appreciate you talking to us.
Did.
Congrats on the podium. And yes, hopefully we will see you again next season.
All right, sounds good, Austin. You have a good one.
You as well. All right, that's going to round out our coverage here tonight for the final race of the season for the Grindstone Development's Late Model Stock Tour. What a championship for Nethery. What a final win for James Harris. And what a season it was for these guys. Again, a couple of changes for next season, so the break might be a little bit longer than usual, but excited that these guys will be back at some point and looking forward to it. As for this season, I want to say thank you to all the folks who tuned in all season long. Thank you to all the drivers. And, of course, thank you to the sponsors. Grindstone Development's Late Model Stock Tour, Kevin and Kirchar for all that they do. And again, hopefully we will be back with these guys next season. As for tonight, that'll do it for myself, Austin Green, here on PGR eSports. And until next time, have a good night.